Okay. Hey, Mr. Jones, how are you, sir?
Sure, how are you today, sir?
Good.
Just a minute. Last doing reconstruction of the courthouse is Cherokee County Court part. So that started last Wednesday. They're tearing it up now. It'll be probably a better part of 1st of December before we get back. My estimation. Good news is it's not moldy and wet like we anticipated things, so that's helped out. So thank you for being with us in the Attorney's office today. Good morning. So anyway, we're going to be in these confines for the next month until they get that courtroom report card put back together. So we're all going to get cozy, bring your own coffee, enjoy it, okay, what it is. Give us about 60 ticks a second hand. We'll be right at the 8:30 mark and we can get this started. Oh, by the way, this is a public notice that we mentioned. We're going to have a special meeting on Friday morning at 8:30 a.m. The sole purpose of that meeting is to canvass November constitutional amendment election. It's got a perfect election and a number of votes as we have voters, which is always a good thing. So it'll be pretty fun if that needs to be done. We will meet with the election commission tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. We'll have their recommendation canvass. If they call them, I'm over this will take that.
Brought to him, so
I think everything passed. I know. There were a couple of really close to I'll just say, double act detail time. We don't have a flag here, so there's a couple of parts of our agenda we're going to have to modify because we will move on from that. Though, if you don't mind. Is anybody here from Hillsborough Ministerial Alliance this morning? I don't see anybody. Justin, can you give us an invitation this morning? If no, I'll move to someone else.
Not yet.
Not yet, just a minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we ready? At this time, we'll call this regular meeting of the Hill County Commissioners Court to order. This, the 9th day of October 2021. My director of this meeting was posted in Texas Code 551, better known as Texas Open Meetings Act, and the Board of Commissioners is present established. Commissioner Martin Lake will not be with us this morning. His wife is having a minor surgery today, so we can keep her and him in our prayers, but he should be well shortly. This meeting also is being simulcast, as you might call it, on YouTube. So if you were going to sign up to speak by remote video, you'd have to have done so by 8 o'clock this morning. I'm being told that we have no sign-ups before that point, so we do have some people joining us for specific items. At this time, if you would, Justin, could you leave some applications for sir?
I just want to say thank you. Say thank you for everything. We have much gratitude to you. Want to pray for the commissioners, the decisions that they go through in court that they have to deal with on a daily and weekly basis. Want to pray for the law enforcement, military, EMS, all first responders out there. In your name, pray.
Amen. Gentlemen and ladies may be seated. We normally do our pledge this time, but absent having the flag, I think it would be a bit of a wall. So we'll move right along in our agenda to our welcome announcements and business announcements. Commissioner Precinct 1, you got the announcements.
Next week, I'm trying to get some of the main roads in the subdivision paved. And hopefully no rain, so we'll be able to continue to do that. No more equipment breaking down and all that stuff. It seems like it. Have a lot of trouble with people dumping trash. We've been picking up trash, and I know the sheriff's office picks up trash. Thank God for them. And just trying to keep that going.
Commissioner. What's happening down in precinct 2?
We tried, had a little moisture last week, tried to blade some roads, tried to smooth them up, and then we had a problem with one of our bridges that Tech Stop's getting ready to condemn it on us. And so we decided to set up our bridge builder, Mr. Younger, and he said he would be there yesterday. So we tore out one of our old wooden bridges to put in a 24 by 50 foot bridge for the safety of farm equipment, and it's a main farm access road to get one property to the other, so.
You're down to how many wooden bridges now?
Sir,
How many do you have left?
3,
3 wooden bridges left.
3 and 2 are on the text dot replacement bridge program, but they're slow getting it done, but they'll eventually get there, hopefully before they condemn them. I only have 3 left.
Wonderful, good deal. Commissioner, what's happening in precinct 3?
Well, same thing, we were, finally got a little moisture last week, so we started blading roads, and we're still blading, even though it's drying out this week. Hauling rock and trying to patch up some mud holes that the rain revealed. Barn is coming along slowly, we're just kind of piecing it together as we go. Still waiting,
Courthouse project.
still waiting on light fixtures, so hopefully that'll be by the first of the year, I'm hoping. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's always hard to wait. Sheriff, what's happening in your part of the world?
Just working on trying to hire people still. We're making a little progress and ramping up recruitment. I think everybody's feeling the burn on that right now.
I'd say so. I'd say so. Good deal. Anything with constables? Sheriff Baker, I heard you shoveling a lot of papers lately.
And, well, the report I was showing last week, I believe, was for the all 4 precincts, and almost the papers that were issued, and then, or 300 that were processed, so it means 150 issued, 150 served. I believe everybody's pretty well spot on, caught up with everything. I have 1 paper I'm dealing with. I believe they have 1 or 2, if any.
Wonderful. Good deal, guys. Appreciate you. Any other elected or appointed officials have any announcements they need to make to the commissioners for this morning before we get started? Mr. Garrett? Yeah, you got anything from Emergency Service District 1 bring to us this morning?
Not really, I just appreciate the rate we've got so far, and everything else is looking good going into the winter right now.
I'm liking the ground moisture. I'm liking the ground moisture for sure. So good deal. On this front, keep this short because we're going to have an intimate crowds this morning. Construction 505 Waco. Did the walkthrough blue tape yesterday. We've got a few minor issues, but that's almost done for all intents and purposes. We'll start moving people in there next week. On the courthouse, we're making headway. Again, it's just like you're doing. Hurry up, wait for this, hurry up, wait for that. They told us that to be out of here by December 1st. I just don't think that's realistic at this time. We'll see. The good news is we toured the floor this last week and yesterday in the county courtroom. There was no mud, there was no mold. We were really scared we were going to find some mold in there. We did not. So no remediation needs to be done on that. We put down a new floor and get back to work, and life is moving forward. A couple odds and ends on the second floor, God bless you. And then the basement, we have a couple of touch-up issues as well, but that continues to march forward. We'll talk about the west side here later. We're in the process of negotiating the contract with the parent low bidder on the ice, which would be ice construction on the project at the fairground, the new AgriLife building. And we're entertaining our first on-site visit next week on Monday afternoon for the Street, one of the general contractors will be doing the Street. So things proceed to march forward pretty handily at this time. We're staying fully busy. So if you got something else to do, think about that for a while. So, all right.
Hey, Judge, before we go,
Yeah.
I want to thank the sheriff's office. Again, my truck is back. They have a lot of vehicle. They were able to let me use. We put a little money into it to get running.
Man, you're a good politician, Sam. Thank you for that.
Personal stuff. Trying to handle it, so.
Stan, we got a passenger seat, so you can carry the mechanic with you.
But anyhow, I just want to interrupt and say thank you to the sheriff's office because it sure helped out whenever we were kind of mine.
That's actually probably by design. We give people that old crown Vic when you wreck the car out. We don't want anybody to have that problem. So maybe that's what that was.
They appreciate the good one.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for open forum. If you're here to speak because of something that's not on our agenda this morning, that's your opportunity to address the board. As we respect you, please show respect to the board. If you can limit your comments to approximately 3 minutes in duration, so we appreciate it. So is there anybody here for open forum this morning? Yes, ma'am, stand up and identify yourself for the board, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Ashley Duquay. I reside in precinct 1, over there in the Shadow Division in Whitney. I'm here this morning to inform the board, alert the board on the condition of the road that is lateral to my home, which is Deer Shadow Court. About 11 years ago, I purchased this property, and whenever I purchased it, I took into consideration the fact that it wasn't on a gravel road, but it is now on a gravel road. The roadway has been reduced over the years to gravel road, with just the narrow strip of pavement that runs down it. And just to remind the court that it's not an abandoned road, it's not a discontinued road. The court, that the county still has responsibility of maintaining it, and I would like to do so. And recently in the area, just last month, where they blacktopped one of the roads in the neighborhood and part of another one, and yet Deer Shadow Court was not one of them. It doesn't even have a street sign that indicates that it's that road. I mean, it did at one time have one, but it's long gone. It's been gone for many years, and would just like for some maintenance to occur down there.
No, appreciate your comments. Thank you. Anybody else for open forum today? Oh, you'd like to thank you, Judge. Okay, thank you. All right, well, thank you very much. If there's nobody else for open forum, going once, going twice, we're gonna move along. All right, it's consent agenda, action on minutes of October 25th, November 2nd, invoices November 9th, payroll for November 5th, and monthly report on revenue disbursement. You will find those both in your packet and emails that the treasurer's office sent out to you in the last couple of days. If there is any single item to pull off for discussion, you can do so. Otherwise, I'm entertaining a motion to approve as presented.
Make motion approved.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any further discussion, additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, any abstentions? You guys have it, and those know it. Number 1, discussing their approval under our court orders of employee wage status changes.
And working on that right now.
We'll go back to that. Sounds great. All right, number 2, we had fine people from the Office of the Attorney General here to make a presentation to us this morning about the opioids. You may have heard in the news, and as a matter of fact, the court, we were approached many times several years ago about hiring our own attorney, which we did not do, to represent us in a settlement agreement with several manufacturers of opioids. So without further ado, I had the ability to witness this presentation a while back. They were kind enough to bring the travel roadshow to Hill County, and I think this is something you guys need to hear, and we can discuss and take action in our next meeting if necessary. You got the floor.
Thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Stephanie Everhart. I'm an assistant attorney general at the Attorney General's office in the Consumer Protection Division. I'm here with my colleague Sarah Leon is in the Government Relations Division, and I have paper copies of a presentation and a handout that I'm happy to provide. And I do not have enough copies for the entire room, but we are happy to send.
We'll share.
Okay, I'm happy to send an electronic copy in, if y'all would like that for
Yeah, I can pass that up.
your records. And
Susan, would you like to see a copy, sir? Susan's our auditor. We're gonna need her input.
okay, does anyone? I do have some additional copies. Does anyone?
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
Okay. There's some additional ones, and I'll just take one for my reference. And where's the best place for me to
You
be?
know, we're kind of new to this ourselves.
Okay.
So you do you. We're still
Okay.
with you.
Um,
So basically, the camera angle, you'll see, they've got it pointed back so they can see the court presiding officer.
got it.
They don't have to see you, but that's up to you. So-
Okay, well, I,
Actually, you know the rules better than I do. You're the AG. What are you talking about?
that's a different division than me. But no, I feel like I saw a presentation on this all recently. So I'll say, this hopefully everyone can hear me. And if you have questions, please just stop. Feel free to interrupt me, but I'll just walk through this presentation, which is essentially an outline of the opioid settlements and what it can mean for y'all as a county. So page 2 of our presentation is just an update of where we stand on the opioids crisis today So overdose deaths rose by nearly 30% last year, which I'm sure is not a surprise. But that really underscores the need for funds to be made available to help with opioid abatement and all the expenditures related to dealing with opioids in communities. And so on page 3 last summer, Attorney General Paxton announced that global opioid settlements had been reached. This is really 2 settlements. It's one settlement for $5 billion with Johnson & Johnson, and then another settlement with the 3 major pharmaceutical distributors, McKesson, AmerisourceBergen, and Cardinal Health, and that's for $21 billion. Texas is slated to receive, as you go to page 4, up to $1.5 billion, but the actual amount that Texas and cities and counties gets depends on joinder in the settlement. So the more cities and counties within a state that sign on, the more money everyone receives. Right now, Texas we've joined both settlements. It's probably not a shock to you since I'm here, but we're in a subdivision sign-on period that ends on January 2nd of 2022. So we are getting closer to that
Just
date.
for clarification, if we're going to join, we come over here, we got to take action before January 2nd.
In order to receive the full amount of funds that you could get under the settlements, yes, you need to join by January 2nd, 2022.
Thank you.
Yes. So page 5 is just some of the injunctive relief in the settlements. So in addition to money, J&J has agreed to stop in promoting, manufacturing, and selling opioids for 10 years. So they are getting out of the opioid manufacturing business entirely. And the distributors are being required to fund and establish a centralized clearinghouse that's going to be monitoring for opioid shipments to pharmacies, which is going to help with a problem where you'd have a rogue pharmacy place orders with multiple distribution companies. Those distribution companies can't talk to each other about that type of information by law, and that allowed pharmacies to just place orders for large quantities of opioids. So the distributors are going to be required to monitor for that, and then also for other red flags and take action like stopping those shipments.
Okay.
So page 6, we're getting into the mechanics of the monetary settlement. So, and there's a few updates from when this was put together. So the distributors are paying their portion over 18 years. Johnson & Johnson originally had agreed to pay their portion to Texas over 9 years. That is no longer the case. Johnson & Johnson will be paying their portion to Texas in one payment on December 31st of this year. And this is under an agreement that our office reached. You may have seen something in the news about this a few weeks ago, specifically with Johnson & Johnson and some of the larger litigating counties in order to bring them on board to these settlements. So that is a good thing because now everyone will be getting their Johnson & Johnson portion of this payment in one check. So the distributors portion, and this used to be the case for Johnson & Johnson, no longer the case, but they're paying in half. Basically half of what they pay is a base payment where the amount will never go below that. And the remainder of it is made up of incentives, which is where the joinder of everyone comes in, because the more cities and counties we sign on, the more money we get into the state. And then on the flip side of this, page 7, the companies, in order to get, they're paying $21 billion from the distributor's perspective for global peace. So in order to get that global peace, they've got the incentive payments to encourage sign-on, but also in the future, if someone decides to file a lawsuit, there is a potential for suspension of payment if that lawsuit passes a motion to dismiss.
Okay.
And then potentially that could be offset if that lawsuit gets resolved down to a judgment. But this whole thing is a series of carrots and sticks designed to encourage sign-on.
Okay.
So our goal is to bring the most money to the state. This is page 8, which the way we do that is by getting sign-on from all of the currently litigating subdivisions. There's 128, as well as the general purpose subdivisions, which are cities and counties with a population of 10,000 or more. Right now, of the litigating subdivisions, only 2 have real trial dates. The remainder of them are sitting in either a multi-district litigation in Houston or multi-district litigation in Ohio, and their lawsuits haven't really progressed beyond the point of filing. So that we do think that there is good reason for everyone to sign on, because this is real dollars on the table now to deal with this crisis. So when you sign on to the settlement, you get dollars in two different ways. One is through a direct payment that will be coming in a check straight to you. And then the other is by getting access to an opioid abatement trust fund account, which is where the bulk of the funds are going. And this is a structure that's set up by the Texas term sheet, which is an intrastate allocation agreement that Attorney General Paxton and some of the larger counties entered into about 2 years ago at this point. It sets up a structure for all opioid settlement funds that come into the state for the future. And now we're in the future with actual settlements here. So there's a 15% bucket to the state, 15% to cities and counties, and then 70% is that opioid abatement trust fund, which is overseen by the opioid council made up of experts. That's, please let me know. Okay, everything okay? Okay.
It's a small old courthouse, it makes a lot of noise, people get excited.
Okay, well,
So
I,
it was just some family members, they're having a docket upstairs.
okay,
And some days these folks aren't, in jail with the COVID issue, so folks get to see their loved one for the first time. So there's some overly emotional people. We're good to go. There's been no issues. You would have gotten an alert already had there been. So forgive us for any interference.
no worries.
Since we don't currently have a bailiff, I'm going to stand right here until you get done.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So basically, most of the money, 70% goes into this opioid abatement trust fund account that's supposed to operate like a grant program for money to be for some cities and counties to apply to that to spend on opioid abatement strategies in their communities. And so last legislative session, Senate Bill 1827 took the Texas term sheet and codified parts of it. So it sets up the Texas Opioid Council. It sets up these bucket structures, actually takes 15% off the top, sends it to hospital districts for them to spend on opioid related strategies. Also puts in an opioid nexus requirement for funds. So the money that you receive in the direct payment needs to be spent on something with a past or future purpose related to opioids. And this can be treatment, this can be EMS, fire, police, Narcan training, really, we have a list on our website of approved uses, but really anything that's a non-exhaustive list, and anything you can think of that has some sort of relationship to opioids.
And I'm really throwing something out of the blue at you here. So, but out of curiosity, we need to do some upgrades to our case management system because we have a number of opioids obviously come from our justice system. Would that be a possible, or who do we talk to about seeing if that would be a possible legitimate expenditure under this program?
So the Texas Opioid Council, they have a landing page for the website, and it's not yet been updated, but you could talk to them. You can talk to our office. I'll say, as I stand here today, like that sounds like a legitimate use, as long as you can tie it back. You can also reimburse yourself for past expenditures related to opioids, which may free up funds that you may be able to allocate for other purposes.
What a security video.
So yes, that's an option. But really it's designed to be flexible and used for the needs as you see fit for your county.
Well, I love that it's possibly reimbursable because that makes it so much easier for us to tie back to previous expenditures directly related, or maybe more tangentially related to opioids and maybe something in the future.
Yes, and then additionally, just to make sure that they also want to point out the opioid abatement trust fund is an account that's attached to the comptroller's office. It is not going, the funds do not go into general revenue. And so the opioid nexus requirement, and the whole setting up this fund, this really ties back to tobacco, where it's tobacco settlement in the 90s. There was a lot of criticism over that because funds didn't go towards helping with the effects of tobacco, it went towards other purposes. So that's why this whole settlement's been designed to avoid that issue. If you go to page 11, this should, and hopefully I provided you with the correct copy of the PowerPoint, that has the hypothetical breakout of what you'd be looking to receive in the direct payment. And so that Johnson & Johnson portion, you can think of that will, should everything go through, that will be in a single check, and the distributor part will be paid out over a period of time. But this is that 15% direct payment, and I do stress this is a hypothetical at this point because we don't know how many cities and counties will ultimately sign on.
I guess this is predicated, this number is upon everybody that could sign on, signing on.
Yes,
That's
yes.
on 254 counties. That's what they call that.
And also cities and counties. So, and I'll say the way that this number was calculated in the Texas term sheet, there's an exhibit B that sets out this city and this county division. They're looked at population, and then they applied an opioid, opioid metric made up of overdose deaths, the number of pills shipped to a community, and the number of persons identifying with opioid use disorder to adjust up and down for the fact that some parts of the state, some cities and counties get hit harder than others, but everyone's in need of funds. So that's how they derived the percentages. And then I applied that to the amounts that are at issue for this settlement. And page 12, this is the larger pool of funds. This is the trust opioid abatement trust fund account. So this has been divided by regions among the state so that, you don't have just one large city or county taking all of the money for that area, but this is for everyone within that region. All the cities and counties who sign on will get access to this bucket of funds for grant purposes. And the rules for this are still in the process of being written. When they are published, we will update that on our website as well. And then just briefly, the next few slides on this are just a timeline of work that our office has in this space. We have other litigation along the opioid supply chain. I'll just highlight two cases. Purdue Pharma, who I think at this point we've all heard of, manufactured OxyContin, and then Mallinckrodt is another opioid manufacturer. Both of these companies are in bankruptcy. When they come out of bankruptcy in the next year, funds from those bankruptcies will hit the state at about the same time as the distributor settlement. And they are required by the bankruptcy court to be set up in the sort of trust fund plan that we've got set up in Texas. So that will be more funds available in addition to the funds that we're talking about for the distribution. And then the last few slides, we have our current sign up list. This is outdated because we get more that roll in every day, and I couldn't print this morning. I printed it yesterday. But that's just to give you an idea, and we have more that are counties and cities who have it on their agendas. The last page of this has our website with the sign-on information and our opioids@lag.texas.gov email address, which is where we're asking folks to send the sign-on information. So we're asking for a join your release form for the distributors, join your release form for Johnson & Johnson, and then we're asking everyone to adopt the Texas term sheet. We have a resolution on our website that you can use and modify to suit your needs. And you send that just to opioids@lag.texas.gov, which is where you can also direct questions. And I have my card if y'all would like it.
Y'all were in Round Rock.
Yes. Yes.
I personally put an action item this agenda just so we get our discussion. If there's any questions for the folks in the AD's office, we've got them captive in this little room right now, so it might be good to ask them. But I find myself in favor of doing this. We can argue all day about who's ultimately responsible for this. The pharmacy is it the end user, is the doctor, who is it? But the fact of the matter is, this is a settlement agreement that is happening. That it is whether we participate or not, it's happening, and there is money out there that we have had damages in the county because of this opioid crisis. It is real. It has a financial impact. It has a personal and human impact. It's caused us to increase the number of patrol deputies we have in the state. It's caused us to increase our cost in operating the jail. It's increased our costs in operating our courtrooms and our judicial system as a whole. So I would recommend the court, when we come back at our next, not Friday's meeting, that has one purpose, I promise. So, but next time we meet, that we go ahead and consider adopting the resolution, and if our attorney gives it his blessing, then both of the joiners sign those as well. I think that this 100, possibly 150, 155, whatever the number could be at the end of the day, could be very easy for us to offset some small fraction of our actual true cost that we have here in the county. Guys, questions?
It'll be something, you said it's not gonna be like the tobacco settlement, but once a year we file information to get our reward, or it will be.
So for the direct payment, you're not going to need to file anything. If you want to get access to the grant program, and which, you know, there's some cities and counties we talk to who are like, we don't want to bother with it, and others are like, yes, please, we want to. That will have an application process that I'm not sure at this time. Exactly what that will look like.
As soon as that comes out, do you think we'll be able to find out on that same landing page when the grant program things come out?
Yes, yes, and then I did see the comptroller set up their own landing page, but it doesn't quite have a lot of info on it just yet.
It's just an over emotional person, no physical, it's just over emotional. Because physical, you hear bad things.
Yeah, we're good.
Are y'all making any recommendations of organizations that should do this educational program?
I think the list of uses has some outlines of the different types of educational programs, like doing stuff in schools. And this time I don't know if we're going to be saying, hey, use this program, partner with these folks, but that's certainly something that it's a good idea and I can take back.
Okay. We are very deep in our drug program right now, so it's definitely applying for those funds. That you know, drug court, so all right, anything further for our friends in AG's office? If not, Stephanie, thank you for a wonderful presentation, for everyone for being with us. We will bring this back before the court on our next regular meeting, and we will take action at that time. So.
Well, thank you all very much for the opportunity to come speak this morning, and I'm leaving my cards here. If y'all have any questions, please reach out.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruptions. It's the one day we have something crazy to have for us. You guys have to be here.
That's all good. Thank you very much.
By all means. So, ladies and gents, we have taken care of our presentation. I do need to go back real quick though, and this is the payroll. We need to talk about the monthly bank balance. Here we are. Bear with me. So she's very excited to see her loved one I presented. All right, in which case, we're going to move on to number 3, which is discussion action on a preliminary plat for Glen Meadow subdivision. This particular subdivision has come back and forth before the development committee a couple of times. We've got final approval. Mr. Chris Hacker, who is the developer, this is with us online. I see the word escapes me, forgive me. Anyway, he's with us. So what we have is basically 5 lots. Those 5 lots, they traverse a Hill County road. I'm looking there. 1322 is the number I was looking for. So there was originally 10 lots. It didn't quite meet our requirements, which meant it was not enough to go back and redesign the subdivision. There is no roads, there is no drainage, there is nothing else there that calls us possible. That is that. That is the preliminary plat for Glen Meadows.
I motion to approve.
Second. A motion second to approve the plat for Glen Meadows subdivision. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Number 4, discussion and approval amendment to the global settlement contract. Mr. Minor, Mrs. Mendes, can you tell us what we got this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So what is taking effect on October 26th? So last week, FCC has jurisdiction over anything that goes interstate, so telephone calls, people, that type of thing. So as of October 26th, FCC has put mandates on call rates for any state-to-state traffic. The second part of that is they've also changed the rules on what qualifies as interstate traffic. So before we were able to use area codes to determine whether it's in-state or out-of-state, but with, as you guys know, very few people have landlines anymore. So most traffic is now considered state-to-state traffic unless it originates from an in-state landline telephone call.
Interesting.
So that poses a couple problems. One, the majority of call traffic is now going to be considered state to state. The second part of that is your phone commissions are based on in-state traffic only. So we had to do a couple things with this amendment you guys have before you. The first thing is to become compliant with the FCC call rate, which reduces your in-state call rate from 45 cents a minute to the FCC mandated call rate of 21 cents a minute. So what we did is we did 21 cents a minute on all call traffic instead of keeping that 10 to 15% of true interstate traffic at that higher call rate of 45 cents a minute. What we've also done is we've taken you off of the in-state 5 cents a minute commission, and we've put you guys on a 10% call traffic or 10% commissions on all call traffic. So it doesn't matter where the call originates.
In-state, out-of-state, it's.
Exactly. The second thing, per the warden, Campbell, he has expressed some interest in mail scanning. So what we're doing is providing mail scanning to the facility. What that does is gives friends and families an off-site address to send all mail to. So it's saving some manpower in the jail having to go through mail. It's also eliminating contraband that might be coming in the physical mail as well.
Okay.
So we're providing mail scanning as part of this commission change. There's no change in contract expiration dates or anything like that. Yeah, so what questions can I answer?
Gentlemen, questions? Sheriff, you're good to go with the GTO contract amendments?
Yes, yes.
No, we got a lot of choice on what the Interstate Commerce Commission does to us. Yes. Okay, I'm glad to hear you guys are gonna take advantage of the mail scanning and use an off-site facility, pre-scan that before it gets to you. That makes me feel better about things.
That'll be a lot more secure for the stuff coming in.
Yeah, one of the most that
Things that we normally wouldn't be able to detect, they should be able to detect it before.
good.
Well, it also keeps your staff from being exposed to, you were just talking about opioids.
Oh, yeah.
And like Johnson County, that's my account, and I'm Cheryl Minor, by the way, I'm sorry.
No, Cheryl,
GTL.
sorry. She's been around here a long
I'm
time.
an MC kid. But anyway, basically, the sheriff up there was talking about how some of the mail was dipped in
Yeah, so.
whatever it is, soaked
They
in
use it
something.
in the paper.
And so, his staff had the possibility of being affected by touching that mail. So we have an offsite facility that actually takes care of all that.
Do they test the mail to see if it has like LSD on it or acid?
I have that question. I had another
Yeah,
county
I'm
ask
not
that.
sure.
But what everything is scanned and they view their mail on the tablets.
Yes.
So they have, that's
So
what
they
they
don't touch the mail?
Exactly.
No.
Inmates no longer get physical mail unless it's legal mail. Legal mail still goes through the same processes that it does today.
What's the record retention time on that?
I believe it's 90 days.
So, and I've had a couple of, like in Johnson County, a couple of inmates who had not gotten some mail or something didn't scan right and there was an error. So we were able to contact the facility that actually handles it for us. And they rescanned it for them. So we've had great success with that.
When you guys finish facility, find your contraband substance, be it an opioid or something like that, who is that reported to? What authorities? Where's the facility?
Well, that's what I need to ask too. We can get back with you on that, unless you know the answer.
Because we know that outside person is, mailing contraband to prisoner X. We'd like to keep an eye on that and make sure that's reported to our prosecutors and our sheriff department.
Let us get an answer for that too, and I want us to send it to you and the sheriff.
Thank you.
We can get you an answer. on
I had a question kind of unrelated to the contract. What other counties use the Keith commissary in conjunction with your program? Because we're having trouble getting the inmate ledger to balance with the GTL.
Monroe County, McLennan uses Keith.
McLennan uses Keith.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So that'd probably be the closest one to you.
Okay, and, we had tried to get something set up before, but the billing, is the monthly billing, and it's,
For the debit calls.
right.
Yeah.
And anyway, we haven't succeeded in getting that taken care of, so we really need some guidance, so we need some names and numbers of who to call to help us assist us with that.
Okay,
And probably given us something at one point. that,
She's, I think you were out last week. I left a message and sent you an email,
Yes.
but if we can get someone, our accounts payable department to see if they can help with reconciliation. Do you think it's and we can take this offline here, but do you think it's a Keith issue? Is that why you're asking about Keith specifically?
Well, I mean, it's the system, it's our commissary system that keeps up with the inmate balance, so I'm asking about that because anybody else that has that would need that.
Sure.
Would have the same issue of trying to get that reconciled,
right,
so.
I'll come up with that too.
Anyway, I don't know if Kendra or Amanda Miller at the jail, that's their responsibility, but we were trying to give them some assistance to get in there.
Okay.
I got a question. What, if any, legal consequences or repercussions can we, the county, be held liable for like mail that's lost or destroyed before the inmate gets to see? Are we gonna be, can we be held liable or responsible? Is there some kind of hold harmless hold harmless involved in this, so we don't get sued if an inmate loses, or the facility loses the mail that the inmate didn't get?
I haven't had that question before. That's a good question. Like I said, the mail is held at it's actually a third party vendor. It's held at their facility for 90 days before it's destroyed. We can get some more information on any liability, that type of thing, for the counties themselves, but I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
We have it currently at McLennan
Okay.
and at Johnson, those are two of our larger ones that we're doing it now. And like I said, I've had a couple of issues where when you pull up the mail scan, there's an error. And I mean, it's few and far between. But when that happens, then I open a ticket to our tech support. They get with, the company's called Earth Class. They're out of San Antonio. Anyway, they get with, and they've been in business for 18 years, I think. And they've been doing, business, medical, legal, all that kind of scanning. Anyway, they actually go back and find the document and are able to rescan it for us.
So an inmate sees it on the tablet, it's gonna show a scan of the front of the envelope, the back of the envelope, and then however many pages, or if it's a postcard, it'll be the front and the back, so it's,
And if they included any photos, that would be scanned as well.
I think Chief Robinson's made y'all aware that the county attorneys and district attorneys offices would like to do it all.
Yeah,
With
so
regard to both the mail and the tablets.
okay, yeah, I have an email out to them, we're gonna set, I have a corporate trainer actually here today, to meet with the jail staff, so I let them know we need to set something up with the DA's office as well.
You have any hesitation with
No, we just, there's been issues with us getting access to the tablets and stuff.
Has it been login issues or?
Just don't have access.
prosecutors don't have access?
Yeah.
Can the prosecutor have
I
access?
got with Robinson last week, and we got
We
everybody
fixed
access,
that.
but they need training on it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, we've been working on that, trying to get that, facilitate that.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, any other questions? If not, we'll have before us the contract amendment to the local telling providing phone services and communications commission issued an order mandating certain rate caps for inmate telephones and ancillary service charges of departments where GTL will provide mail scanning service and whereas the county commission approves the recommendation. And so it would be before you gentlemen. For motion to approve.
You good with it? I'm fine.
Second.
I know you're the attorney too, but.
Yeah, I know, he's, I'm gonna take that good money, I'm over here now. All right, so I got a motion and a second. Mike, we're gonna pick that up. All right, motion and second, any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question, all in favor, say aye. Aye, all opposed, any abstentions, you guys have those, no, I'm gonna do a single round order. I have to put my name. All right, that carries. Let's move on to the next, which is number 5, discuss and approve credit application for Flowers Baking Company for Tyler LLC.
Did we call the question?
Did we vote?
Okay.
Man, hey. All right, so Flowers Baking, what we've got is we've been using Bimbo Bakery for a number of years for our bread needs for some time. Recently, however, we also have tried to reduce the number of bread loaves for deliveries and that will be resistance from vendors. So we've advised that the bread was stacking up and they asked for a skip order that would reform to be a couple of weeks. That change to occur. So we tried to reduce the order from 160 loaves delivered twice a week down to 92 loaves delivered twice a week. When the vendor continued to deliver 160 twice a week, they contacted the corporate office to resolve the matter and the problem persisted. They contacted Flowers Baking Company Tyler, arranged nothing to the jail. Flowers Baking Company has since started delivering bread to the jail, however, we require a credit application. And we only got some credit application. So we were paying $1.17 per loaf of bread from Bimbo. They're delivering 160 loaves twice a week for approximately $74.40. Flowers Baking Company charges $1.31 per loaf for a more flexible placing orders bread. 2 orders of 92 loaves a week would cost approximately $241.04. So we're saving $130.
You got plenty of toast over there. Hey, Brett,
We're out on that. So anyway, our recommendation for the board is to approve the credit application.
Make a motion for
Motion in the second. I love it when I know the whole story in one synopsis, guys. That's.
I read it, I was like,
Well done, Sheriff. Well done. All right, I got a motion in the second. Any further discussion on this issue? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the motion shall carry. All right, right along then in our agenda, we have item number 6. Shall be discussion improvement monthly bank balance report for October 2021. We had before us the monthly bank balance report. It started off $4,845,102.21, net of $726,192.01, giving us an ending balance of $4 million. I'm sorry. I'm reading you a subtotal, way back up. We started off with $6,085,137.46 overall, the entire balances. We spent $761,675.55, and that leaves us with $5,323,400. Closing balance across all accounts.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. We have any further discussion? I will say this is so much nicer that we have just these 2 accounts. When I got here years ago, this was like a 2-page document just listing the accounts. So I appreciate everyone's efforts to make that a little easier. All right, in which case I'll end my commentary. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Any abstentions? The monthly report on bank balances shall pass accordingly. Number 7 is urban report, Cook County CPS Treasurer's report for October 2021. Find people at the Child Welfare Board, as you know, the County CPS Board, has sent us another treasurer's report for September. I'm sorry, the balance was corrected for September 2021. The starting balance $5,620.35. The balance starting for October 2021, $5,620.35. And those were the Cook County fund balance. So the other assets, they are. Total assets are $62,526.76. Then their incoming expenses for the month ending was adoption day public donations of $750, $20 a month public donations, total public donations $707. Expenses they put on $876.91 for adoption day. Now, adoption day, if you're all not familiar with this concept, I encourage you to go to it and see it sometime. I don't remember how many documents Judge Crane had on the court docket, but it was over 20. It was a good number to get the document finding for everyone. So, pretty neat event they do. So we have some other odds and ends, the total expenses for the month of $1,297.89. So not a bad month, and I think people with the child welfare board will writing us the report.
Make a motion to observe the report.
Second. A motion to observe the report, the Hill County CPS Treasurer's report for October 2021. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, any abstentions, motion carries. So number 8 is discuss and approve Tyler software for the treasurer's office. You guys have got time.
We're really trying to speed things up.
So they've got to check it out. Very religious song. Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, just pass that around.
Sometimes it just.
Oh, I'm with you. I got that too. Sir,
One's coming around to the other.
you want executive time here, okay?
I wanted to introduce Robin Reeves to you today.
Good morning.
She is from Tyler, and she's going to be facilitating a presentation that we'll have on the screen in a minute. Tammy Bates from, who is the executive time representative, is also going to walk us through that presentation. Executive time is, it's a time and attendance software. It's a product of Tyler. I've looked at some others. This one interfaces with what we already have with Encode. If we go with any other vendor, we're going to be buying an interface as well. The functionality of it looks good. The functions include timekeeping, timesheet approvals, processing, employee timekeeping security, mobile access for all the employees and supervisors and officials, and moving overtime to compensatory time. There's some additional functions that can be utilized, time off approvals. You know, you can send in your request for time off. If the official wants to utilize that and process those basic scheduling features. Right now, what we have is a totally manual payroll time sheets. Even though we're processing them on Excel sheets, we're printing out a piece of paper and we're doing manual calculations, and it is cumbersome. What we're asking for today is for us to have a time capture system that can be accessed via smartphone or your computer. For the employees, that means that they report and submit their time for approval via their smartphone or computer. Timesheets can be made to order, and the only thing they would have to change on their timesheets is when they come and go differently than normal. If they take time off, if they work late, if they come in early. Those changes can be made pretty easily. Also, for the officials and supervisors, what those timesheets, what happens with those timesheets as we know them now, but they're that would just go electronically to the official or the supervisor. Go through them. If there's any changes that need, there are any modifications that need to be made, that's where they'd be made. And then there'd be a sign off approval, and then it would come to our office.
So the commissioners, if they chose to participate, yes, they wouldn't have to come up here with time sheets. They could sit in their office and farm and sign off on them. That automatically puts it up here.
Yes.
Not
So
that any of our employees ever mess up their time sheets. Just say, is this system set up so when I look on my laptop, not that my guys would do it, I'm just using them to say, put the wrong day or wrong. Can I fix that, or do I have to send that back to them and have them fix
You can fix that.
it?
Yes, sir. And the approvals will be electronic. They'll be right there.
So like, out of curiosity, how the system works, if my employee puts in their time sheet, do I get an email, or do I have to manually log on the system, or is there a reminder that, hey, today's the day you need to log in to do this? How does that work?
We're gonna get into that in just a second with Tammy. From there, when it comes to us, then if there are any modifications that need to be made, we have wage and deduction changes, process time for audit approval. We get everything ready, send it over to Susan's office for them to audit and to approve. So that's just a very high overview of what we'll be talking about today. I don't know how to express how much time is involved, not just with our offices. I know you guys put in a lot of time in manually putting together your time sheets, as well as your employees. They put in a lot of time. The sheriff's office, bless Pam Rose, and the captain.
That's really the reason we started looking at this, is the majority, after employees in SO, and the amount of time that one individual has to spend on this is just ungood. It's a lot of time.
It is. So we start processing payroll on Friday, and then we publish usually on Wednesday. And there's, I'm sorry?
Comal uses this program.
Don't know, I don't believe so. Erath County uses it, Lubbock County, they have Muniz instead of Encode, but it's also a Tyler product. They also use it.
Commissioner down around, they use it. It's so cut down on their staff hours, stress tenfold.
The human error factor too is just, it's there, we are all human. We try very hard. Our main focus is to pay everybody fairly. Our employees do a good job with the time sheets that they have. But we really need to step it up, and this would add another layer of transparency as well for our employees, that they could access their, ongoing time through the year. So I'm going to turn it over to Robin and to Tammy and let them demonstrate the product a little bit for you. And then we can address any more questions that you might have.
Robin, Tam, you have the time.
All right, good morning, I'm Robin Reeves. I'm Hill County's account representative for Tyler Technologies. I've been with Tyler for 24 years now. Tammy has been with Tyler since 2016. She is our ExecuTime expert. ExecuTime is a Tyler product. It's just the name of the time and attendance software. You'll also see a name here, Dennis Mailman, on the bottom. He is an Encode representative, our solutions consultant. So if there are any Encode questions on the payroll side, I ask him to be here. So Tammy is just going to go through quickly showing you ExecuTime, the screens and such, and then we're happy to answer any questions that y'all may have. So Tammy, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you very much.
Okay, hold on. Wait just a second. You sound like a drive-through speaker right now, ordering food. So we gotta see if we can get it clearer.
Can we test, hey Dennis, can you speak, please, sir?
I can. This is Dennis.
Yes, that's on her end.
Okay, Dennis is coming
It's
through.
not our fault.
Dennis is coming through clearly. But Tammy, you unfortunately sound like we're ordering fast food?
We could try to have her disconnect and reconnect to the meeting and see if that helps.
What is the attachment?
Sound like a robot. Is it Tyler software causing this problem?
No, it was.
I know.
That would be mentioned.
Or she could potentially mute her mic and dial in.
Can you dial in and not use the computer mic?
Boy, we got time to go. I tell you what, while we get this resolved, let's take a 5-minute recess. Everybody wants to take coffee or whatever they need to do, go do that. We will see everybody back in here promptly at 9:35. That'll be 7 minutes actually, it's 9:35.
All right.
What about you get these out? Sorry. Yeah, no, of course. There's also an addendum to this that's included in the regular price.
Hello, Tammy?
Tammy, we still can't understand you.
Say again.
Tammy, can you talk a little more, please?
I'm just about to have a
Philip, it's just hers.
I can hear you. You sound good. Tammy, not so much.
Tom, can you speak, please?
What do you want me to say, Philip? I can get, it's just muffled on my end. Well, this is mine clear.
Yeah, and this is Dennis talking as well. I mean, I can hear everything except for Tammy. Are you there, Robin? I mean, I suppose if we change presenter to me, I can take it through if we can't get Tammy resolved.
You can share your screen, Dennis, if you don't mind taking it over.
Yeah, Dennis, you can just share your screen.
Tammy, I don't know what it is, but we cannot understand the words you're saying.
Philip, you have to make me presenter?
No, I think you can just share your screen.
Right, Dennis, you should have a share screen at the bottom of your page.
Okay, I'm getting there. Oh, there it is. I see it now. Okay, bear with me. Let me get my little duckies in a row.
Is there any way you use the phone to call into?
Yeah. You can download your Zoom meeting, once you have the application on your phone, if you have an iPhone, I know that application for it, and I would presume that a Samsung or Google device would have the same. Yeah, I dial into them, out of curiosity, Henrik, are you listening? I know you're logged in there, Tom, I can see clearly. Yeah. Hey, is anybody in my office listening? I want to see what my sound sounds like. I was told that may have an issue hearing this in the table.
I'm in your office, Judge, and I can hear you great.
You're awesome, thanks, appreciate it.
Judge, it sounds good out here in the field.
All right, good, thank you. Glad you're working hard for the county.
Sounds good for you.
No. Tammy, if you have the Zoom app on your phone, you can dial in, but then Dennis has it up on the screen and is ready.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I need another minute.
Okay, that's fine. There is a short recess,
Oh.
so you should be fine. So Tammy was just going to show a high-level overview of how the screens look and how they can approve time.
Got worse. But
So actual image or thing? No. Oh, actual, straight up. Oh, no, we got different opinions here.
I think it'll come back to prescription. Listen, I don't want to go to jail in nation.
Oh, you know, she did disrupt the whole meeting. You need me to write out something? It was disrupted twice. Oh, and there's somebody, they might report. Amazing.
That's that. Did you have any questions about the red thing before I go to the hospital?
No. All right. Is everything good to say?
Yes, I got it. Goes through my video on downstairs.
Okay. All right. Be safe. We'll see you. Thank you. We passed the break thing. And the GTO contract implies breaking both. Okay. Appreciate it.
Cynthia was at the dice over that camera in
I'm just saying.
That wasn't
Dennis, are you doing the presentation?
Yeah, I believe I am.
Okay.
Tammy, you can stop talking.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to call this meeting back for recess. Let the record reflect it is 9:37 a.m. This is a continuation of the meeting that started this morning and the first floor room at the courthouse at 8:30. Our current topic of conversation, as discussed in approved Tyler software for the treasurer's office, and we have the fine folks from Tyler Technology, Mrs. Robert Reeves, Ms. Tammy Bates, via Zoom, to give us a presentation. Ms. Reeves, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So with technology, you gotta love it and you gotta hate it. And so Dennis Mailman, who is a Tyler Solutions consultant, he has been with Tyler for going on 20 years. And so if we could have someone.
That's
okay. Okay. So Dennis is now graciously going to do the presentation, high level overview. And if there are any questions, hopefully Tammy will be able to dial in and answer those questions as well as Dennis. All right, Dennis.
Okay, so thanks folks for letting us present today. My name is Dennis. I'll do the presentation for it. And yes, and as you've already heard some of the introductions, this is exactly what folks are looking for when it comes to what Wanda was saying. You know, we see that a lot. People working with spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet, you know, 10 king, a whole bunch of information in, you know, not to mention the paper has to go get filled out and then it has to go get approved by someone. And then it makes it over to Rhonda's area, right? And if you think about all the time that's spent, this solution is meant to relieve a lot, if not all of that. And so this is the electronic time and attendance solution. It is meant to be super simple. What you're seeing on your screen now would be a login screen for general hourly or salary folks, just depending on how you want to push it out. And you can see it's a very clean web page, and it's meant for people to get to just what they want to get to, and then move on with their day. And this is what they're meant to see. It's also good to know that there's a lot of stuff that you don't see and that you're not meant to see, right? There's going to be behind the scenes just to kind of set the stage. It is meant to take the information when people check in and check out or enter their time through the time entry screen. It is meant to take that information, consolidate it. It has rules in the background that tell it, hey, if you're one of those ones that gets overtime after 80 hours, we know that. If you're one of those ones that's in a different capacity and in an 80-86 solution, then we know when you hit overtime. And it knows those kinds of things, and it allows you to be able to decide comp time or not comp time. And those are the things that you don't see because it's all set up in the back office and in the configuration screens. So you don't have to deal with it. So I just wanted folks to know that, yes, there is a ton of features and bells and whistles to make it work for the way that you want it to work. And it's very customizable. So with that, the folks come in and it can really be as super simple as this, right? And this can be done on the portal that you're seeing now. I'm in my Google Chrome. It is a web browser, as you know, so people can get in from a web browser from wherever they are. The same looking screens will be there if they get to it on a mobile phone. So they can perform these exact same items on a mobile phone. But they come in and during their day and they check in, they go do their day, and then they check out. Super simple. And I know that sounds super simple because it really is meant to be super simple. And then that's what they do. And as they go through and checking or clocking in, or excuse me, checking in and checking out, if they need to do so, it will start tracking it. And nobody else has to do this in the spreadsheet. It'll show them what they did on Monday. When did I check in and when did I check out? It'll log your time on a daily basis, and it'll start accumulating your time as the week goes through. So not only can they see what they're doing from day to day, but they can see how close or when they hit the overtime mark, as we can see here. And there's a lot of other things that are set up in the background. These are all just standard examples. If folks want to check in and check out before lunch and then check in and check out after lunch, it can abide that. If they want to check in at 8 and check out at the end of the day and just let it record that time and not worry about the lunchtime, it can do that too. Or if you have other things like callback pay, and this is just an example, or weekend type of connection time, it knows that, and in this particular example, it's just showing I started at 6, I ended at 6:12, but because of the rules that we have based on your configuration, you get a minimum of 2 hours, and then no matter how much time you spend on it. And if it was 2 hours or more, it records actual time. So those are the kinds of things that people just, they check in. If they need to post their time to different projects, that's available. A lot of these show regular time, but yes, when they need to check in under a different activity, that's all managed, and they just pick it from a list and then move on. And so, yes, they can see a summary of it. It's really easy to see. And then they can see all the detail that they want. And this is just an example of maybe they put their time to some specific activity or to some specific project. So that can be tracked as well. And then just for those that need it, they can also manage their time. And this just depends on how y'all move forward with it. I would venture to say that most people will use the check in and check out, and that's what they use. And then they look at their time. For those folks that you determine need a different solution, there is a time entry. So I can just as easily enter my time in a grid format. And you can see it goes day by day, enter in when I started, enter in when I stopped, and then it'll accumulate the hours for you. A little bit different thing, but this is just an example of the things that they can post their time to, right? If they know they're going to hit the overtime and you want to specify it that way, great. If they know that they're going into something like training or PTO time, then yes, it can be whatever your list is that you want people to post time to. These are all just examples. That's how easy it is. And then if they need to post it to a project or a specific activity, it's super simple. And they just put in items from day to day. I always like to admit it is a forgiving application, right? If they need to correct something, oops, that wasn't the project I meant. Sure, they can correct it. If they need to just delete something and start over, they can do that too. And whenever they're ready to add, it's a real quick add button. So Real simple to do that kind of thing and then move on with their day and not have to spend a whole lot of time recording time. So that's how easy it is from the employee standpoint. That's a little bit on the check-in and the timesheet entry. And yes, there's the other side of things. What about the time I'm not working? So they can see, and this is great, right? Because I mean, how many times do folks go up and call Rhonda or some of the folks in the office? Oh, how much time do I have left? It's at the holidays. I really need to take a day off. And they don't have to call anyone. They can just get to it themselves. It will be whatever leave accruals y'all are currently using in the payroll application. So, and I didn't mention this in the beginning, but this is a happy connection between payroll and the time tracker. So yes, we do pass information back and forth. We want to minimize double entry. So there really isn't double entry or much of it because it talks back and forth. So as new employees come in or people change departments, it automatically funnels over into the time tracker. And then that's just one less thing that the administrative staff have to deal with. So they can see their benefit summary. They can look at the details of it if they want to. If I want to see when I've been taking time off, I can see all of the times when it's been declined or approved or taken or whatever else they need to look at. So quick access to that information, right? So they don't have to call anyone and they can get to this whenever they want to. If they want to see it on a benefits calendar, and the benefit of this is it can either be just me, but what we probably see just as often is it's a departmental type calendar. So if I'm looking for a day and 3 other people have that day off, you know, it's a good indication. I don't have to call anyone. I already know that I can't take it off that day because I still need coverage. So that's a nice option as well. And then they can, as was mentioned, they can also do time off requests. And yes, we know we can see Henry Miller. He's our little go-to person. So we use him a lot and you can see a lot of entries, but it's easy as just hitting the little plus sign, pick whatever your benefit type is, probably like sick time or PTO or the common ones. You can tell it a start date. You can tell it some of the information that you need to tell it, maybe make any changes, although typically these can be defaulted, and then you just save it. There's a ton for the folks that are looking at this and approving it. There's a ton of visual indicators, right? Colors and icons, because we know those are easy to interpret. And so, yeah, we can say, oh, yes, that one's been approved. And, oh, that one's been declined. And here, this one's kind of bright red. All it's really just saying is, hey, it hasn't been approved yet. But it's real easy to hone in on if you're looking at it and see, oh, maybe that needs attention. So that is as easy and straightforward as it is for the folks to go in and put their time in. And then from there, and this is the employee side of things, we'll go back in and let me sign out, and then we'll sign in as Sally Adams. She would be the approver. And then we'll see a little bit more to it. So, and those are my things. Those kind of items are on my computer, wouldn't be on y'all's. But Sally, being an approver, well, she's also an employee, right? So she'll have access to the same employee actions for her to be able to put her time off and put her time in. But she's also a supervisor. So it's very clear what roles people play and where they have the information. And this is exactly it. This is how easy it is for folks to be able to approve things. We see there is an employee time summary. So if those approvers, whoever they might be, if they like to see things in a little bit more of a consolidated fashion, a summary, just what it's called, that's exactly what it is. And we can see, yeah, there's some things up. And yes, I'm right in the middle of a payroll period. So some of these things haven't been approved, but it's easy to see that. So I can quickly see, oh, well, we're not ready yet. Employees haven't approved their stuff. the approvers haven't approved their stuff, and then they can move on and wait till the time is ready. Or there's other things as well, is these little violations, right? It tells you the green, hey, everything's good for that. But this one, it's a real easy to see something's wrong with that. And all this one is really just telling me is someone forgot to check in or check out. And so those are all available. And then if I go into that particular piece, it's super easy to go in. If I look at it, I can see regular time. I can see how we're bumping up to overtime, comp time, benefit time. So all those pieces and parts that make up their weekly time or biweekly time, I can see it real easily. And then, okay, that makes sense. Yes, I'm good. If I want to approve multiple people, then I can check multiple people as I scan through it. Looks good to me. Click OK, scan through it. Looks good to me. Okay. And then, yes, I can initial it and then approve it. And that would be the same for if I need to go in a little bit more detail. Maybe I'm just curious of what that is. I can easily go in and look at the detail. And really what it does is it takes you to this time approvers. So in my opinion, I call this the time summary because that's exactly what it is. And I call this the time details because that's exactly what it is. And this is just a different way for people to do it. If a different approver wants to look at the detail, and I can see as I move from employee to employee, I can go look, and I know I don't have some of the details because I'm still in the middle of a payroll. I can see the details, click approve or reject, go to the next person, click approve or reject, go to the next person. So it really, to me, it's a matter of personal preference, or maybe people just go in and use a little bit of both. Maybe they start here, and then for those oddities and exceptions that they see, then they go to time approvals. So that's as easy as the time approver is. And then there's the other side of it. Is the approvers, yes, they can manage those times off. So we can see in this particular case, here's Henry Miller's. And there are ways to sort it to see just what you want to see. And in this particular case, if I need to, maybe Henry's not around or whatever, and it just doesn't look right at all. Because I'm given the authorization to do so, I can delete it, or I can simply edit it. Maybe he just accidentally picked the wrong day and I know that. I can edit it. I don't necessarily have to send it back to him. I can if I want to, but I don't have to, right? And I suppose it all depends on timing. If it's right at crunch time, maybe I fix it myself. If we have a little bit of extra time and its payroll's not due yet, maybe I kick it back. And of course, that's really just all up to what y'all want it to be. So for us, for those that I need to approve, then I can simply do that as well. I can check that one is done and then approve it. For me, just to keep my stuff clean, I'm just going to delete it. And yes, just to let you know, if it was approved, it will show up in their timesheet as approved time. So they don't necessarily have to forget about it. And then so that's really it from the employee side. That is really it from the supervisor action side. And then the other thing is, yes, when I'm ready, there is a section for you to go into and push this time and review it before it gets automatically pushed over to payroll. And that's it. I mean, that takes you through the employee side. It takes you through the supervisor side. And then the push over to payroll automatically kicks in. And no one had to touch a spreadsheet. And so that takes us through what we were intending to present, and we can open it up for whatever questions.
I guess the first question I have is off topic somewhat, but does like exempt employees. Sorry to pick on you, Philip. For example, Philip, right now you have to send me a blank timesheet. How is that going to work with this?
It'll be much like they have right now. If we can have a timesheet that's made to order for them. If they have changes, they make a change, just like they do now, just by exception. So if they take PTO time, they enter their PTO time. Otherwise, their pay doesn't change.
It's basically a template, it's always the same unless, take your time.
And you can actually do that for your road and bridge guys, because a lot of them check in the same time every day and check out the same time. So theirs is essentially set, and they just have to say, yes, that's what I did.
So that every individual will have their own login page?
Yes.
It's not like you just log into the system and everybody clicks?
Yes.
And is there an application for the employees for, say, road bridge plus notes, put it on the phone instead of actually going and sitting in front of the commissioner's computer out in the bar?
Absolutely.
There's an
They
application.
can just check in, check out on their phone.
Okay.
Or computer, whichever they choose. And the approval process with the commissioner, same thing.
Check in, check out the road bridge, your schedule says it's up now, you log in.
Exactly.
I got you.
And they can do theirs by exception, just like a exempt person. If, if they've got the same times, you just plug in the same times, and if they have, a day that they work extra, they make that, they log that.
So the log in, log out seems to be more functionality geared towards those offices that have employees on rotating schedules.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Questions? Commissioners? Anybody else? Elected officials, this will affect you guys too.
We have
Hallelujah, in other words, I have
So
to.
out of the elected officials, they won't get or anything, they don't have PTO or anything.
Correct, but how it will affect them is that they're gonna have a little more management, they have to go over the top, that's something you learn, but it won't be bad, I don't believe. I'm in favor of doing this personally, in case anybody wants the rest of that.
We have an aggressive target date of the end of June. And that is aggressive. It probably, I would say a start time is probably gonna be around January because of Tyler's already a little bit back. That is an aggressive target date. As it is right now, and I don't have the exact number in front of me, but you.
So we're a year out from implementing?
I'm sorry?
We're a year away from implementing?
We're about summer, yeah, about 8 months.
We don't pay them until we get it installed, right?
You can log in on your PTO. You can log in on your PTO.
Oh, yeah.
That's where we're going right now. And I believe that's in your package. It should be.
All right, in which case, is there any further discussion on this?
I believe it's in, typically it's 90 days after exception. That's the date. But we can make changes to those because we understand it's not your fault that Tyler fucked up. And so, once a approval is made, then everyone can see when that initial start date is, and then we can make those changes prior to and put it in the language.
We generally like to have our contractors go back, but once we accept it, the software application is installed, it's working, people signed off on it, or that number of days, I'm sorry. Just want to get rid of the log in this.
The initial implementation and the first annual fee comes to $23,393. I'm sorry. With recurring fees of $10,913 annually. Quite frankly, this is a lot cheaper than putting someone else on board, and we're close to having to do that. It is just a lot of work, 4 days, and usually at least 6 people involved between Susan's and my office, and not to mention all the people in each of the offices. I do want to be completely transparent with this. During this process, and since the second, when I wrote this brief, we have discovered through some of Susan's questioning that there is possibly gonna be probably about $6,000 more that I'm gonna bring before you at some point, because we have all the specialty pays at the sheriff's office, and that information is gonna have to be it's just gonna have to change to hourly rates instead of what we're doing now. So it wouldn't be that big a deal if we were on the ground floor with it, but since we've already got historical data in there, it's gonna have to be pushed over.
So the 6,000 approximately conversion costs.
Yes, sir.
Who's gonna be the conservator of this program?
Very close.
The implementation of it, just like we've gone through Odyssey and just everything else, there will be some training at the end of it, and won't leave you out there flapping in the wind, but it is a pretty good, simple program once it gets all done.
Susan, you're gonna be a large part of this equation. Do you have any concerns?
Now we talked at it, we watched the demonstrations, our whole office has. It'll be an improvement, and it's all about the rules and the rights and roles that we learned.
Yep.
Those famous little words that we speak of. Rules.
Finite licenses.
Okay, so once we run a program, we got 270 people, we go to 300, we're not gonna pay for more to get more licenses.
That's my understanding too. Probably speak better to that, but I'll clarify that question and I'll get it to Rhonda since Tammy, unless she's got it in the chat.
So I guess right now, there's really two questions. Go ahead, my question.
We think it'll help save us all some time. All over the whole county, so.
Yeah, let's just start using.
Yeah, I think so. And this is gonna press the institutional knowledge, and not call anybody out, but I know that you're gonna enjoy it after retirement here, after this term, so when the next person steps up, that's gonna make it a little easier just to step into that role. Which we have to learn the entire system as it is right now. You'll have other people out there that support this on it.
Yeah. And I think that the transparency that the employees are going to feel with their time too, and the information that will be available to them, I think that's important too.
Yeah. Commissioners, your thoughts? One way or the other?
What are you gonna do about the employees that don't have a workstation?
Do they have a phone?
I assume most everybody.
I mean, it really is as simple as checking in, checking out on your phone. I would not think so.
I guess the question is how many people don't have a workstation?
And if they don't, we can make a computer available to them. Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. At some point.
We need to provide a computer in each precinct barn for all the guys there.
And service, because I have none.
Sir?
And service, because I have absolutely none.
I
have no phone service in my barn, like Mr. Crumpton does. So when it's pouring down rain, we're supposed to stand out in the parking lot and log in.
You need to talk to my IT people. We have solutions for that.
I don't want to spend any money.
Oh, we don't have solutions for that.
I can partly visit them to users.
That is a concern, but
You have any phone service there? Like
Yeah.
AT&T, Verizon, anything work?
About midway from the barn out to the highway. So, yeah, one more.
And so,
Well, no, that's our
Purpose
current
of-
location.
Oh, your current location.
No, Penelope's supposed to be great. They've got, on top of the leg at the grainer, it's supposed to be good, so.
Our phones
That's because they don't go to
No help.
My phone in my house is the AT&T phone account, so I had to go purchase a $900 cell phone.
They don't
need to say no.
We gotta drive out the driveway. Get to it.
Yeah.
I think everybody's got, well, everybody reading that was.
I still got two heads.
That's not gonna change.
At the very least, the supervisor can fill in this for the employee.
Exactly.
you know,
In a worst case scenario.
I think you're gonna really enjoy that made to order timesheet too. And I hate that y'all don't have good service out there, but you know, probably most of all of your entry for the most part is gonna be, you know, the exceptions. And so you're gonna have a timesheet where maybe they get halfway to Penelope or wherever and punch that button, you know. Probably. Hopefully not a large piece of, yeah, maybe they need to pull over.
Okay. Any other discussion? We're gonna come into bumps we didn't anticipate today. I want everybody to know that. There'll be things that we didn't think about, something that happens. It's happened every time there's a software package. But I think we went through this pretty thoroughly beforehand today. It was a nice presentation for, it's the second time I've seen this presentation because I was available for a previous test. I know the auditor and treasurer are going through this. What we're doing today is not working for us. It takes too long, too much manpower, too much person power, whatever. And there's too many chances for human error, inaccuracies, problems. We can better use the time that we spend putting this program in place and productivity in other areas, and correct other problems we've got. So I find myself in favor of this program, even though knowing there will be some logistical hiccups we'll have to fix. I've got Phil, there's nothing we can do. So, yeah. No, you're not. Yeah. A tower or microwave, you got to be up the next day. So what I'm getting at is I find myself in favor. I need to know who my commissioners are. We're going to take a vote on this today. Is this something you guys would like to discuss? What's your brother?
You're looking at initial cost of 24,000
Roughly, yes, sir.
per year.
No,
Just one time.
One time initial 24, but add 6 to that because that number of 24, 23 and change does not include the 6,000 for conversion of previous stuff. Phil's giving me the eye.
Jim, does the initial expense come from IT? I know the ongoing. It all comes from IT.
Yes,
We
built it into the budget this year.
Well, 24, 25 we did for sure.
You know,
Does the
respectfully submit that this is really money that could be well spent.
Does the 24 include the first year's service or? Yeah. Motion second, and we have a second. So the motion is second to approve a contract with Opioid Technologies in Phil County, Texas, for the purchase of the executive time software for unlimited licenses and for payment to be made upon completion and acceptance of the product installed. Any further discussion?
Claire, to answer your question, she said $10,900 annually. After year one.
After year one, so next year's budget will have to add that additional amount to the software maintenance. Yes, sir.
Do we think it go live in June 22?
We are, it is an aggressive target date, the end of June, yes, sir.
First payments due 90 days after today.
No.
At completion.
At completion, once we accept it, we say, hey, this works for us, it's golden, you turn it over, then you've got to pay after that. Our policy on software is we don't pay upfront. Right. We pay after it works, we know it's going to work.
So after, in July, we'll have to check in July.
July, August, whatever after it's done, so.
And there will be, I mean, it will be tested, you know, mildly before it goes live.
We know this is the one thing that's really gonna cause consternation amongst your employees. There's a possibility that hiccups are gonna happen. It's a new program that's installed. There's gonna be human error when we get things into the new system the first time. Just make sure that you've got a communication set up with your employees so that first time it comes out, if there's an issue, come to me immediately. You don't want it to be a surprise for anybody. We have too many employees that live paycheck to paycheck, unfortunately, and this is something we need to be cognizant of. In the past, these discussions have been difficult to have because we didn't have the open communication that we have around here now. I'm very proud of everybody in this room, the way they communicate, but know this, moving forward, this is one of those areas that we have to be very, very careful, and very, very sure of the product we're putting out there before it's full trigger of the life. Okay, I'll step on the soapbox. All right, any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? The motion shall carry unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Robin. Thank you, Ms. Tammy. Even though you didn't talk, Mr. Dennis, thank you as well. I appreciate it. Look forward to getting this moving forward.
Thank y'all very
Well,
much.
we got everybody here. Number 9, discussion and approve amendment of solicitation modification for contract issued by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for Fort Worth. We have an amendment. Sheriff, please, you're telling me.
That was the lake control contract. There were a couple of hours that we were not able to cover, and when we do that, we have to get approval for that to go back to Corps of Engineers.
It would be obligated fund before we put, Corps of Engineers contract is simply a estimate. We're going to do X number of visits, and if that doesn't go, then we don't take the funds we get used, and we deobligate. It's not something we have done before, but it needs the Corps of permission to deobligate funds to send back. Second. A motion and a second to approve an amendment and a solicitation modification of contract issued by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for lake control contract. Is there any further discussion? Questions, additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, discussion and or action on purchase of real property, Hill County Precinct Number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, there was an executive session last quarter where we discussed a particular property in Precinct 1, Hill County, outside the community of Huron. This particular property, 7.25 acres, 2 buildings, one of 17,000 square feet, and the other 9,000 square feet concrete parking. Well, I was given specific instructions on what my range I can negotiate. I come back to tell you that I negotiated a tentative agreement, which is predicated upon a survey being by the buyer, tended to us, and an environmental survey for that 7.25 acres and the aforementioned 27,000 square foot building for $800,000. In the process, we've also negotiated for that price. They will leave a brand new Caterpillar forklift, Caterpillar generator, fuel tank, several large storage tanks that are outside, some shelving inside, air compressors, and a few other odds and ends in there. So that is the deal before the commissioners for the instructions that you gave me from the last meeting we had. Tell me what your thoughts are.
Make a motion.
Okay, have a motion, second discussion.
Okay, who's gonna pay for that? Is that gonna be divided?
We're just gonna dump it on him, but it will be divided between the county and precinct 1, since you have a total of multiple different offices. In precinct 1, you're gonna have JP 1. Trey, you with us still? No, he's gone. I got it right, something to do. You're gonna have Constable Precinct 1. You're going to have, we envision SO, DPS, the game warden, and possibly a tenant down there in the form of ESD number 1 at some point. I think it would be reasonable, and this is just my proposal, to say the county pick up 3/4 of the cost and precinct 1 pick up 1/4 of the cost. That's just my proposal to start talking.
That's what I'm talking about, crickets.
I think Mr. Miller, JP over the.
Oh, yeah, we go to JP's, but that'll work for about 30 seconds. It's up to you guys, how you want to structure it.
That's more than fair.
What, I think it'll be good for the county, good for precinct 1. And if we had to go out and build something like that, we couldn't do it.
No, 3 times what we're gonna pay. Now, let's be clear, I think there's gonna be, it's a conservative estimate of $4 million in cost to this building in order to do what you got to do on your side, to finish out the inside of that building for an office space, the addition of septic systems. I have an email I haven't looked at, I got a bid for what the septic systems may cost up there. Matter of fact, I can tell you real quick what that possible bid amount is. For 2 septic systems, 1 each for the different buildings. Here we go. The quote was what, Grace? $20,000 for the 40 feet of new pipe. Yeah, roughly $20,000.
2 systems.
For the 2 systems, yes. $10,000 each.
Can I go out and get, my approach people and say, hey, I'd like to do this?
Oh, totally, yes, I'm sorry, I would just ask for a single bid to get an idea of what we're looking at, so yeah, it could go up or down, depending on, please don't take it that I was advocating one person, or else, I'm trying to get a general idea of what our spend is gonna be after we get the building, and try to be realistic in those numbers, but I'm thinking $4 million. I wanna go through, make sure that the bathrooms are ADA, they're ready to be finished work on the inside, the plumbing, I wanna have redone, make sure that it's just code. The electrical need to be added on the building where you're at, finished out, there's electrical in there, it's gonna put a meter panel, like, we gotta put, the plumbing over to that building, the water needs to be carried over there. Both septic systems, obviously. We need some work on the facade on the outside, which is metal and brick. Just little bitty things, and, but I wanna make everybody aware up front that the 800 is not the end of that.
So when we start doing, should we separate things off?
Anything on that building you're going to take that's to the south of the main building, that's on you as well. Septic system, electrical, all that. Anything on the main building we're going to use for others, that's on the county for that. That's the way I put that.
Yeah, you're gonna use the back of that building.
I can see him definitely using it.
So you need to split that building from this point on as precinct 1, this point on the county.
It's gonna be weird to do that, and I'll tell you why, because the front county would use, up the offices, the middle or the bays possibly, the back would possibly be for the entertainment, you bring it to the SD1 or later dates, fire apparatus, tanker truck, engine, to increase fire response times to the western side of the county.
But any improvements in the section, would that be on precinct 1 at that time?
Depends. I don't know that there's going to need to be any improvements in the section of the main building where you possibly pull us in. For example, I don't see putting a pit in there. I don't see the wall that we would build between the back of the building and the front. We talk about the sound barrier there. I think that would really be an account to do that. There's already a tool room back there, so if there needs that, would be no additional cost. Yeah, if we had a specific modification to that building, we're only doing because wanted to get it paid.
I can see put some kind of petition or barrier between the two that nobody's kind of.
We talked about like a room that would be a storage area room to break the sound from say the shop area to the office area.
There's a lot of different ways to set this up.
Widen the doors, for example, things like that.
I would replace those doors on the outside of that building with a roll-up style door instead of that sliding style door.
But you get into that cost, that's what I'm getting at as far as, is that gonna be his cost or?
It's for them, yeah.
Yeah.
The front one, the very front of the building, I'm gonna say, okay, not the very front. So you've seen the building, looking at it from standing on the south side of the building, that concrete parking lot, looking back toward, there's the lower portion where the offices were. Then you get to the taller portion in the back, there's a door there, I'm gonna do it at that door, and I'm gonna take that in the front offices. So that would be, I think, on the counter. Definitely, we're talking this case by case basis and bring it on before the commissioners before we get it finished whatsoever. Which I'm happy to do.
Get where we can get inside it and then we need to do inside.
I think so. I mean, what we're doing today is simply signing a contract, purchase real estate contract. We've had our council look at it, and then when we go forward and make modifications, I'm more than happy to bring every last detail to this board. We can make those decisions then.
Like I say, I think it's a super deal for precinct 1 that have been needing something for 50 years.
I will tell you the other thing, we're having a meeting with the elections commission tomorrow. We're designing our elections precincts. I am going to talk to the elections commission about the possibility if this is a voting precinct in that part of the world. It will help us with consolidation of some of our precincts. This is centrally located in precinct 1. We don't have to worry about it being drawn out at some future date, 10, 20 years from now. It's probably the best access back into Woodbury we have from the west side of the county. It was not where I was initially looking. This is actually north of where I think we should be looking at. But the more and more we the site, this property, the ability to access all parts of precinct one, basically make a sub courthouse county outpost, the large courtroom for the judge and the prosecutors, offices for the prosecutors while we're up there. You know, things that we don't have everywhere else, that is going to be important for us.
My biggest concern at this point, and I haven't been able to look at it, is you've got one entrance serving all of those constituencies.
Correct.
Think we have enough highway frontage as second entrance?
Not highway frontage, but we have county road frontage.
Well, there's a road that runs on the north side, but it's a private drive.
Oh, forgive me, I forget, that doesn't county road.
No, it's a private
Okay, my
drive,
bad.
but I've talked to some people down there and I mentioned it about access coming out of there, in and out of there, off there. And I was just gonna get before the court and say, if they'll allow us to put in a driveway, an entrance there, we can maintain that road for them, which is this courthouse to get in and out.
Let each possible access, to alleviate.
But you're still coming out on the same road. It's just that you're coming out of the property at a different place.
You know, my concern is that county trucks, possibly emergency vehicles, coming out of that, in and out of there, and you've got the public coming in there to do business.
That's the only place that property touches.
You've got a huge parking lot there, and then where his barn is, it opens up wide back in the back. So it's, but that single point entering the highways would be the only congested area I could see. Still, we may run into an issue there. As far as once you get in there, it'd be wide open.
Well, it's the other option we have up there too, and right now it's set up where you've got these large stone barriers come down the center of that. We could do some change up, remove those stone barriers, separate public, private lanes, put two separate lanes there as well. There's enough room, I don't remember how many, I remember.
I think the entrance, I believe, is 100 feet wide.
Something like that. So I think there's enough room to put county entrance, public entrance divided to try to meet that traffic. So
I just don't want me on the same grass yard with I don't blame you.
Maybe we'll get his money before you kick him out.
What are we gonna be able to get for his place, his existing place?
Hopefully,
Hopefully
we don't have to pay.
Not a single fund declaration. Yes, ma'am.
We won't have enough, we don't have enough in our budget to currently purchase this.
Correct,
We're
and I
trying to
I don't,
encumber funds from the prior year to the extent we can.
if we could do that, that would be wonderful. Yes, ma'am, we keep us from having to go out and borrow as little as we have to do this. I don't believe this is going to qualify for the ARPA funds. I can't find a way to tie this back into the Biden funds. That's been their favorite term. So, because the other projects like the ag life, that's going to qualify community track, and there's so many teaching opportunities, that wouldn't tie that back with some warehouses and their belts. Unfortunately, well, this is a very important project for the county. I can't tie it to those funds. I'm not smart enough to know how to do it yet. I'm not say something like not probably in the future, but right now. So if we can come with previous year's funds that are available to do this, and then, minimize the amount that we would have to borrow, for short-term borrow that is, then I'd like to do it.
A note on the Biden funds, or some of the counties are holding back, wondering whether they're gonna have the vaccine mandate. If using those funds is gonna require the vaccine mandate on employees.
It didn't when we signed off on it. It would take so many other federal grant funds, massive amounts of FEMA grant funds. I would tell you that we just won't focus for that as anything, but my understanding that there's a federal district judge that's put that vaccine mandate on hold for all large employers for some time. So we've been watching that develop. TAC assures us at this point it does not apply to us. Again, and I'm supposed to make ex post facto laws, but the government doesn't pay attention to those things anymore. So at this point, I don't think we would fall under a mandate to using those funds. That is prone to change with time. So I'll do my best to turn it.
We're not under OSHA, so.
So, all right. We got a motion in a second. I'm glad we had a good discussion on this. I really appreciate that, gentlemen. But I do believe this is a big step forward for the county, especially in that part of it. All right, I'll call the question. All in favor of purchasing the property here on 361 County, Texas, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. And I think very surely the citizens of Precinct 1 Hill County be grateful as well. All right, last but not least today is consider and approve a professional service agreement stating the work of Tyler Technologies to address SB 41 civil court costs and fees. All the fun people in the state of Texas do us another favor. We passed Senate Bill 41.
I'll give them to you, Tara.
So anyway, what we have in front of us is all of our civil fees are going to change again on January 1. And by change, I mean, this isn't just, hey, we're going to change it for $5 to $10. This will be a whole new format.
This is the encore bill to SB 246, which addressed criminal last year. This bill overhauls civil fees across all of our nodes, and its concern is making sure that when January 1st gets here, that all of our fee codes are functional, particularly for civil matters that are required to be e-filed. Those civil fee codes and their corresponding schedules are kind of hidden to us because we have forward-facing fees that we use for over-the-counter. So I don't want to run the risk of us having to reject the 50 or 60 documents that are filed every day in our civil courts. Those fee codes have to work. The interesting thing through the webinars that Nicole and I participated with is OCA, the Office of Court Administration's CJIT Director Casey Kennedy suggested in his in the first webinar that case management vendors should be doing this as part of our SACs. The amount of money that we pay them every year for legislative update. Because what this does is it makes it an unfunded mandate. I say let's address that after the chips fall. It's November. These fees have to be fixed by January 1st. We have 4 JPs that are affected by this legislation. Of course, the county and clerk and the district clerk. So they're estimating 15 hours per node. For each one of us. I have 4 areas that they'll be addressing. Nicole has 2. The JPs all are treated as one node. It's expensive and there's no question about that, but I don't feel like we're in a position, I mean, Philip's staff is limited. We have so many other projects, our migration navigator, the new jury management application, the training that's associated with all of those things. And then the restoration of all of these facilities where IT's front and foremost. I just don't see how we're going to fit it between now and January if we don't get title assistance.
This is basically an unfunded mandate from the state. The state of Texas says thou shalt, provides no funds to do it, but we have to do it. So it's $2,600 a month. It's $2,600 including 4 JPs for probate, for the civil, and the criminal. So everything is $2,600 every different node. It's hostage taking basically. I don't have a choice in that. State says we have to, therefore we have to. That being said, we could try to do it in-house, but you just heard what Marcia said. I mean, the fact of the matter is we've got a lot of.
This isn't like criminal where we were 4 or 5 months getting our criminal fees functional or after the legislation was passed with SB 246. The difference is that subsequent filings are accepted through our criminal side, but they're not mandated. So you could easily file a document over the counter criminal matter, where in civil, that's just not allowed. I mean, even our pro se litigants, we're asking them to step over to a public terminal. We build them an e-file account and ask them to file their pro se filings via the e-file system. What this legislation does, much like the criminal, it consolidates our civil fees to a state consolidated and a local consolidated. So all the funds we're collecting on the state's behalf will now be taken right off at the top to the e-file system. That money will never touch us. So of course, they're going to be screaming and hollering if our fees are set the way they're supposed to be set come January 1st, because obviously they want to get their money. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to break down and cry if y'all let us get this help. Well, and kudos
to Henry, because listen, he's overloaded. He helped us so much with the criminal. It's complicated. And that's the difficulty is that every county is different. In other words, they're all customized. So if you look at our, my criminal fees versus Navarro's fees, when I go over there to our monthly user conference fee, their fee code structure and their corresponding fee schedules is nothing like ours. Every county is different in the way that their fee codes are. So they just can't push a button and everybody gets uniform codes. Because in civil and criminal, it's in the statutes, every county size matters. So if you've got 1 million more people or case volume, that's going to dictate how much we charge for that particular filing. So they can't just uniformly treat all counties the same. And so with all of those challenges aside, they really have to spend the time to look at how our system is our fee code structure the way it is now. Many of these fee codes have been obsolete, so come January 1st, we won't even use the codes anymore. We're having to create new fee codes and their corresponding schedule. So it's time consuming. My biggest concern is that it absolutely has to be spot on accurate. Just because it's going to affect the ability for justice to move forward come January 1st with already filed.
Also, notice we're looking at about 15,000. A motion is second. Now, next question is discussion before we pay for this funds. So, Bill didn't budget for this, so we can't just go 19 budget. So, hey, that's all there is to it because he did other things for that. So, we're going to look around our budget and see what's. We've got suggestions. I'm hoping for that. We'll go where we can.
Nicole and I were of the opinion that we could use our management fund, but this is one of those things where we didn't anticipate it either.
If we'd have known about it, I'd have come to you this session, but legislature did legislature things.
I think there's appropriate, and I don't speak for Nicole, she's not here. We could put an appropriate records fund sometime that we have not used money out, but we allocate an amount every year. I'd be open to using that fund to try to pay for as much of this as we possibly could, what we previously allocated for this way. And try to find those pools of money where we can, because again, the state did this to us, and nobody else's failure to anticipate it. The state said, here you go.
Well, and even when we were talking about this at summer conference, SB 41 has been on the radar all session. OCA's interpretation of this legislation was that these fees you'll be able to change easily, no problem.
Yeah.
It's not that simple. And the case management, in their defense, it's a lot of hours of reprogramming because every county is custom. They're just not the same from county to county. It's not as easy as just saying, okay, well, we'll push a button and it'll change fee codes and schedules across all 254 counties. It's not that simple. So I get it. It's a lot of work. We just don't have the staff or the time to be able to put to it. More than anything, it's just absolutely got to be accurate, so that when we get to January 1st, if we have filings that error out, then I've got somebody I can got a phone call and say, hey, this isn't working. Can you fix it? Because now you've got to involve not only Tyler, you've also got to involve e-file. So there's it's a lot, but you know what I'm saying? They're completely two different areas of support, and the analysts work in two different complete areas. So it's a big deal for us, and I can't tell you how much it makes us start hurt after what we went through with criminal fees.
No doubt.
It's just let them do it is my recommendation.
This is gonna be an annual return.
No, this is a one-time, until the legislature meets again and decides they don't like it, then they.
Yeah, it's one time about 15.6 is what we'll come up with, and so we'll do our best to pull from other funds, if there's funds that we can appropriate, we'll do so.
Any ideas? Because this is gonna affect the auditor treasurer in a huge way. All of our reporting will change, how we map this, and I sent you a link to that webinar on implications for
We
our.
have a contingency fund, and I'm sure we'll find a way to pay for it. It's just, there's some, you know, big bar steel.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second. There's been further discussion on this issue. Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion to pass unanimously. Okay, Commissioner Drummond. Motion? Second, and adjourned.
And don't read the.
Don't leave until I sign.